Hey, everybody, welcome to Saturday Scripts Live. Today is May the 2nd. It is a chilly May the 2nd. Thank you very much for joining us today. We have got another just beautiful, well-written, concise, heartfelt, honest script today that I think really does a great job at looking at um, just wrestling with the role of doubt, how important doubt is to faith, and how faith is tempered. Faith is made better because of doubt. As some of my ideas, but you all can take your own ideas from it as you like. Today's script is by, of course, Mr. John Patrick Shanley. He wrote this as a stage play, and then it was later adapted to film, and it was just another beautiful piece, even in film with Philip Seymour Hoffman, Meryl Streep, Rachel Adams, and Viola Davis, just doing so well in portraying these really just such a human, such a real scenario unfolding. Like all of the characters, you can just really feel with them, right? So that's this is a beautiful script that we're going to be reading today, and I've got four lovely readers reading with us today. We have Michelle Plett reading the role of Sister James. We have Matt Pilgrim reading the role of Father Flynn. Kathy Hepner reading the role of Ms. Muller, and Sherry Pierce reading Sister Aloysius. And behind the scenes, we've got Ms. Jen Taplin running stage management for us. So a beautiful script, wonderful. You know what? I just want to, the script starts off with kind of an introduction written by the author. I just want to read the last paragraph just to prime our minds for the kind of angle that Mr. Shanley is taking us to. He says, doubt requires more courage than conviction does, and more energy, because conviction is a resting place, and doubt is infinite. It is a passionate exercise. You may come out of my play uncertain. You may want to be sure. Look down on that feeling. We've got to learn to live with a full measure of uncertainty. There is no last word. That's the silence under the chatter of our time. Just brilliant. Okay, let us read. The place is St. Nicholas, a Catholic church and school in the Bronx, New York. Time, 1964. Doubt, a parable. Scene 1. A priest, Father Flynn, is in his late 30s in a green and gold vestments, gives a sermon. He is a working class from the Northeast.
What do you do when you're not sure? That's the topic of my sermon today. You look for God's direction and can't find it. Last year, when President Kennedy was assassinated, who among us did not experience the most profound disorientation, despair? What now? Which way? What do I say to my kids? What do I tell myself? It was a time of people sitting together, bound together by a common feeling of hopelessness. But think of that. Your bond with your fellow human beings was your despair. It was a public experience shared by everyone in our society. It was awful, but we were in it together. How much worse is it then for the lone man, the lone woman, stricken by a private calamity? No one knows I'm sick. No one knows I've lost my last real friend. No one knows I've done something wrong. Imagine the isolation. You see the world as through a window. On one side of the glass, happy, untroubled people. On the other side, you. Something has happened. You have to carry it, and it's incommunicable. For those so afflicted, only God knows their pain, their secret, the secret of their alienating sorrow. And when such a person, as they must, howls to the sky, to God, help me, what if no answer comes? Silence. I want to tell you a story. A cargo ship sank and all her crew was drowned. Only this one sailor survived. He made a raft of some spars and, being of a nautical nature, turned his eyes to the heavens and read the stars. He set a course for his home and, exhausted, fell asleep. Clouds rolled in and blanketed the sky. For the next 20 nights, as he floated on the vast ocean, he could no longer see the stars. He thought he was on course, but there was no way to be certain. As the days rolled on, and he wasted away with fevers, thirst, and starvation, he began to have doubts. Had he set his course right? Was he still going on towards his home? Or was he horribly lost and doomed to a terrible death? No way to know. The message of the constellations, had he imagined it because of his desperate circumstance? Or had he seen truth once and now had to hold on to it without further reassurance? That was his dilemma on a voyage without apparent end. There are those of you in church today who know exactly the crisis of faith I describe. I want to say to you, doubt can be a bond as powerful and sustaining as certainty. When you are lost, you are not alone. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.
He exits. Scene 2. The lights crossfade to a corner office in a Catholic school in the Bronx. This principal, Sister Aloysius Bouvier, sits at her desk, writing in a ledger with a fountain pen. She is in her 50s or 60s. She is watchful, reserved, unsentimental. She is of the Order of the Sister of Charity. She wears a black bonnet and a floor-length black habit, rimless glasses. A knock at the door.
Come in.
Sister James, also of the Sister of Charity, pokes her head in. She's in her 20s. There is a bit of sunshine in her heart, though she's reserved as well.
Have you a moment, Sister Aloysius?
Come in, Sister James. Who's watching your class?
They're having art.
Art. Waste of time.
It's only an hour a week.
Much could be accomplished in 60 minutes.
Yes, Sister Aloysius. I wondered if I might know, what did you do about William London?
I sent him home.
Oh dear. Is he still bleeding?
Oh, yes.
His nose just let loose and started gushing during the Pledge of Allegiance.
Was it spontaneous?
What else would it be?
Self-induced.
You mean you think he might have intentionally given himself a bloody nose?
Exactly.
No.
You are a very innocent person, Sister James. William London is a fidgety boy, and if you do not keep right on him, he will do anything to escape his chair. He would set his foot on fire for a half day out of school.
But why?
He has a restless mind.
But that's good.
No, it's not. His father's a policeman, and the last thing he wants is a rowdy boy. William London is headed for trouble. Puberty has got a hold of him. He will be imagining all of the wrong things, and I strongly suspect that he will not graduate from high school. But that is beyond our jurisdiction. We simply have to get him through, out the door, and then he's somebody else's project. Ordinarily, I assign my most experienced teachers to 8th grade, but I'm working within constraints. Are you in control of your class, Sister James?
I think so.
Usually more children are sent down to me.
I try to take care of things myself.
That can be an error. You are answerable to me, and I to the Monsignor, and he to the Bishop, and so on up to the Holy Father. There's a chain of discipline. Make use of it.
Yes, sister.
How's Donald Muller doing?
Steady.
Good. Has anyone hit him?
No.
Good. That girl, Linda Conte, have you seated her away from the boys?
As far as space permits, it doesn't do much good.
Just get her through, intact.
Should I go? Is something the matter?
No. Why? Is something the matter?
I don't think so.
Then nothing's the matter then.
Well, thank you, sister. I just wanted to check on William's nose.
He had a ballpoint pen.
Excuse me, sister?
William London. He had a ballpoint pen. He was fiddling with it while he was waiting for his mother. He's not using it for assignments, I hope.
No, of course not.
I'm sorry I even allowed cartridge pens into the school. The students should really only be learning script with true fountain pens. Always the easy way out these days. What does that teach? Every easy choice will have its consequence tomorrow, mark my words.
Yes, sister.
Ballpoints make them press down, and when they press down, they write like monkeys.
I don't allow them to use ballpoint pens.
Good. Penmanship is dying all across the country. You have some time, sit down. We might as well have a talk. I've been meaning to talk to you. I observed your lesson on the New Deal at the beginning of the term. Not bad, but I caution you. Do not idealize Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was a good president, but he did attempt to pack the Supreme Court. I do not approve of making heroes of lay historical figures. If you want to talk about saints, do it in religion.
Yes, sister.
Also, I question your enthusiasm for history.
But I love history.
That is exactly my meaning. You favor history and risk swaying the children to value it over other subjects. I think this is a mistake.
I never thought of that. I'll try to treat my other lessons with more enthusiasm.
No. Give them their history without putting sugar all over it. That's the point. Now, tell me about your class. How would you characterize the condition of 8B?
I don't know where to begin. What do you want to know?
Let's start with Stephen Inzio.
Stephen Inzio, he has the highest marks in class.
Noreen Horan?
Second highest marks.
Brenda McNulty?
Third highest.
You see, I am making a point, Sister James. I know that Stephen Inzio, Noreen Horan, and Brenda McNulty are 1, 2, 3 in your class. School-wide, there are 48 such students in each grade period. I make it my business to know all 48 of their names. I do not say this to aggrandize myself, but to illustrate the importance of paying attention. You must pay attention as well.
Yes, Sister Aloysius.
I cannot be everywhere.
Am I falling short, sister?
These 3 students with the highest marks, are they the most intelligent in your class?
No, I wouldn't say that they are. They work the hardest.
Very good. That's right. That's the ethic. What good's a gift if it's left in a box? What good is a high IQ if you're staring out the window with your mouth agape? Be hard on the bright ones, Sister James. Don't be charmed by cleverness. Not theirs and not yours. I think you are a competent teacher, Sister James, but maybe not our best teacher. The best teachers do not perform. They cause the students to perform.
Do I perform?
As if on a Broadway stage.
Oh dear, I had no conception.
You're showing off. You like to see yourself 10 feet tall in their eyes. Another thing occurs to me. Where were you before?
Mount St. Margaret's.
All girls.
Yes.
I feel I must remind you. Boys are made of gravel, soot, and tar paper. Boys are a different breed.
I feel I know how to handle them.
But perhaps you are wrong. And perhaps you are not working hard enough.
Oh.
No tears.
I thought you were satisfied with me.
Satisfaction is a vice. Do you have a handkerchief?
Yes.
Use it. Do you think that Socrates was satisfied? Good teachers are never content. We have some 372 students in this school. It is a society which requires constant educational, spiritual, and human vigilance. I cannot afford to an excessively innocent instructor in my 8th grade class. It's self-indulgent. Innocence is a form of laziness. Innocent teachers are easily duped. You must be canny, Sister James.
Yes, sister.
When William London gets a nosebleed, be skeptical. Don't let a little blood fuddle your judgment. God gave you a brain and a heart. The heart is warm, but your wits must be cold. Liars should be frightened to lie to you. They should be uncomfortable in your presence. I doubt they are.
I don't know. I've never thought of it.
The children should think you see right through them.
Wouldn't that be a little frightening?
Only to the ones who are up to no good.
But I want my students to feel they can talk to me.
They're children. They can talk to each other. It's more important that they have a fierce moral guardian. You stand at the door, sister. You are the gatekeeper. If you are vigilant, they will not need to be.
I'm not sure what you're asking me to do.
And if things occur in your classroom which you sense require understanding, but you don't understand, come to me.
Yes, sister.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm the principal of this school. Do you stay when the specialty instructors come in?
Yes.
But you're here now, while the art class is going on.
I was a little concerned about William's nose.
Right. So you have art in class.
She comes in, Mrs. Bell, yes.
And you take them down to the basement for dance with Mrs. Shields.
On Thursdays.
Another waste of time.
Oh, but everyone loves the Christmas pageant.
I don't love it. Frankly, it offends me. Last year, the girl playing Our Lady was wearing lipstick. I was waiting in the wings for that little jade.
Then there's music.
That strange woman with the portable piano. What's wrong with her neck?
Some kind of goiter, poor woman.
Right, Mrs. Carolyn.
Yes, that's right.
We used to have a sister teaching that. Not enough sisters. What else?
Physical education and religion.
And for that we have Father Flynn. 2 hours a week. And you stay for those?
Mostly, unless I have reports to fill out or...
What do you think of Father Flynn?
Oh, he is a brilliant man. What a speaker.
Yes, his sermon this past Sunday was poetic.
He's actually very good too. At teaching basketball, I mean, I was surprised. I wouldn't think of man of the cloth, the personality type for basketball, but the way that he has, very natural with dribbling and shooting.
What do you think the sermon was about?
What?
This past Sunday. What was he talking about?
Well, doubt. He was talking about doubt.
Why?
Excuse me, sister?
Well, sermons come from somewhere, don't they? Is Father Flynn in doubt? Is he concerned that someone else is in doubt?
I suppose you'd have to ask him.
No, that would not be appropriate. He is my superior, and if he were troubled, he should confess it to a fellow priest or the Monsignor. We do not share intimate information with priests.
I am a little concerned.
About what?
The time. Art class will be over in a few minutes. I should go.
Have you noticed anything, Sister James?
About what?
I want you to be alert.
I don't think I'm following you, sister.
I'm sorry I'm not more forthright, but I must be careful not to create something by saying it. I can only say I am concerned, perhaps needlessly, about matters in St. Nicholas School.
Academically?
I wasn't inviting a guessing game. I want you to pay attention to your class.
Well, of course, I'll pay attention to my class, sister, and I'll try not to perform, and I will try to be less innocent. I'm so sorry you're disappointed in me. Please know I will be trying my best, honestly.
Look at you. You'd trade anything for a warm look. I'm here telling you, here and now, I want to see the starch in your character cultivated. If you are looking for reassurance, you can be fooled. If you forget yourself and study others, you will not be fooled. It's important. One final matter, and then you really must get back. Sister Veronica is going blind.
How horrible.
This is not generally known, and I don't want it known. If they find out in the rectory, she'll be gone. I cannot afford to lose her. But now if you see her making her way down those stone stairs into the courtyard, for the love of heaven, lightly take her hand as if in fellowship, and see that she doesn't destroy herself. All right, go.
Scene 3. Lights crossfade to Father Flynn, whistle around his neck, in a sweatshirt and pants, holding a basketball.
All right, settle down, boys. Now, the thing about shooting from the foul line, it's psychological. The rest of the game, you're cooperating with your teammates. You're competing against the other team. But at the foul line, it's you against yourself. And the danger is, you start to think. When you think, you stop breathing. Your body locks up. You have to remember to relax. Take a breath. Unlock your knees. This is something for you to watch, Jimmy. You stand like a parking meter. Come up with a routine of what you do. Shift your weight. Move your hips. You think that's funny, Ralph? What's funny is you never getting a foul shot. Don't worry if you look silly. They won't think you're silly if you get the basket. Come up with a routine. Concentrate on the routine, and you'll forget to get tensed up. Now, on another matter, I've noticed several of you guys have dirty nails. I don't want to see that. I'm not talking about the length of your nails. I'm talking about cleanliness. See? Look at my nails. They're long. I like them a little long. But look at how clean they are. That makes it okay. There was a kid I grew up with, Timmy Matheson, never had clean nails. And he'd stick his fingers up his nose and in his mouth. This is a true story. Learn and listen. He got spinal meningitis and died a horrible death. Sometimes it's the little things that get you. You try to talk to a girl with those filthy paws, Mr. Conroy, she's going to take off like she's being chased by the Red Chinese. All right, boys. You guys, what am I going to do with you? Get dressed, come on over to the rectory and have some Kool-Aid and cookies. We'll have a bull session. Go.
Scene 4. Crossfade to a bit of garden. A bench, brick walls. Sister Aloysius in full habit and black shawl is wrapping a pruned rose bush in burlap. Sister James enters.
Good afternoon, sister.
Good afternoon, Sister James. Mr. McGinn pruned this bush, which was the right thing to do, but he neglected to protect it from the frost.
Have we had a frost?
When it comes, it's too late.
You know about gardening.
A little. Where's your class?
The girls are having music.
And the boys?
They're in the rectory.
With Father Flynn?
Yes, he's giving them a talk.
On what subject?
How to be a man.
Well, if sisters were permitted in the rectory, I would be most interested to hear that talk. I don't know how to be a man. I would like to know what's involved. Have you ever given the girls a talk on how to be a woman?
Oh, no, I wouldn't be competent.
Why not?
I don't think I would. I took the vows at the beginning.
The founder of our order, the Blessed Mother Seton, was married and had 5 children before embarking on her vows.
I've often wondered how she managed so much in just one life.
Life perhaps is longer than you think, and dictates of the soul more numerous. I was married.
You were?
You could at least hide your astonishment.
I just didn't know.
When one takes on the habit, one must close the door on secular things. My husband died in the war against Adolf Hitler.
Really? Excuse me, sister.
But I'm like you. I'm not sure I would feel competent to lecture tittering girls on the subject of womanhood. I don't come into this garden often. What is it, 40 feet across? The convent here, the rectory there. We might as well be separated by the Atlantic Ocean. I used to potter around out here, but Monsignor Benedict does his reverie at quixotic times, and we are rightly discouraged from crossing paths with priests unattended. He is 79, but nevertheless.
The Monsignor is very good, isn't he?
Yes, but he is oblivious.
To what?
I don't believe he knows who's president of the United States. I mean him no disrespect, of course. It's just that he's otherworldly in the extreme.
Is it that he's innocent, Sister Aloysius?
You have a slyness at work, Sister James. Be careful of it. How is your class? How is Donald Muller?
13th in class.
I know. That's sufficient. Is he being accepted?
He has no friends.
Well, that would be a lot to expect after only 2 months. Has anyone hit him?
No.
Someone will. And when it happens, send them right down to me.
I'm not so sure anyone will.
There's a statue of St. Patrick on one side of the church altar and a statue of St. Anthony on the other. This parish serves Irish and Italian families. Someone will hit Donald Muller.
He has a protector.
Who?
Father Flynn.
What?
He has taken interest since Donald went on the altar boys. I thought you should know.
I told you to come to me, but I hoped you never would.
Maybe I shouldn't have.
I knew that once you did, something would be set in motion. So it's happened.
What? I'm not telling you that. I'm not even certain what you mean.
Yes, you are.
I've been trying to become more cold in my thinking, as you suggested. I feel as if I've lost my way a little, Sister Aloysius. I had the most terrible dream last night. I want to be guided by you and responsible to the children, but I want my peace of mind. I must tell you, I've been longing for the return of my peace of mind.
You may not have it. It is not your place to be complacent. That's for the children. That's what we give them.
I think I'm starting to understand you a little, but it's so unsettling to look at things and people with suspicion. It makes me feel as though I'm less close to God.
When you take a step to address wrongdoing, you are taking a step away from God, but in his service. Dealing with such matters is hard and thankless work.
I've been more reserved in class. I feel separated from the children.
That's as it should be.
But I feel wrong. And about this other matter, I don't have any evidence. I'm not at all certain that anything has happened.
We can't wait for that.
But what if it's nothing?
Then it's nothing. I wouldn't mind being wrong, but I doubt I am.
Then what's to be done?
I don't know.
You'll know what to do.
I don't know what to do. There are parameters which protect him and hinder me.
But he can't be safe if it's established. I doubt he could ever recover from the shame.
What have you seen?
I don't know.
What have you seen?
He took Donald to the rectory.
What for?
A talk.
Alone?
Yes.
When?
A week ago.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It never came to my mind that there could be anything wrong.
All the children. Donald Muller. I suppose it makes sense.
How does it make sense?
He's isolated. The little sheep lagging behind is the one the wolf goes for.
I don't know that there is anything wrong.
Our first Negro student. I thought there'd be fighting, a parent or two to deal with. I should have foreseen this possibility.
How could you even imagine it?
It is my job to outshine the fox in cleverness. That's my job.
But maybe it's nothing.
Then why do you look as though you've seen the devil?
It's just the way the boy acted when he came back to class.
He said something.
No. It was his expression. He looked frightened and he put his head on his desk in a most peculiar way. And another thing, I think there was alcohol on his breath. There was alcohol on his breath.
8 years ago at St. Boniface, we had a priest who had to be stopped. But I had Monsignor Scully then, whom I could rely on. Here, there's no man I can go to, and men run everything. We are going to have to stop him ourselves.
Can't you just report your suspicions?
To Monsignor Benedict? The man's guileless. He would just ask Father Flynn.
Well, would that be such a bad idea?
And he would believe whatever Father Flynn told him, and he would think the matter was settled.
But maybe that's all that needs to be done. If it's true, if it had been something awful, well, if I was confronted with it, I'd be so repentant.
Sister James, my dear, you must try to imagine a very different kind of person than yourself. A man who would do this is already denied a great deal. If I tell the Monsignor and he is satisfied with Father Flynn's rebuttal, the matter is suppressed.
Then tell the bishop.
The hierarchy of the church does not permit me going to the bishop. No. Once I tell the Monsignor, it is out of my hands. I'm helpless. I'm going to have to come up with a pretext, get Father Flynn into my office, try to force it. You'll have to be there.
What? Me? Well, no, sister. I couldn't possibly.
I can't be closeted alone with a priest. Another sister must be in attendance, and it has to be you. The circle of confidence mustn't be made any wider. Think of the boy if it gets out.
I can't do it.
Why not? You're squeamish?
I'm not equipped. I would be embarrassed. I couldn't possibly be present if the topic were spoken of.
Please, sister, do not indulge yourself in witless adolescent scruples. I assure you I would prefer a more seasoned confederate. But you are the one who came to me.
You told me to.
Would you rather leave the boy to be exploited? And don't think that this will be the only story. If you close your eyes, you will be a party to all that comes after.
You're supposed to tell the Monsignor.
That you saw a look in a boy's eyes? That perhaps you smelled something on his breath? Monsignor Benedict thinks the sun rises and sets on Father Flynn. You'll be branded a heretic and transferred.
We can ask him.
Who?
The boy, Donald Muller.
He'll deny it.
Why?
Shame.
You can't know that.
And if he does point the finger, how do you think that will be received in this community? A black child? I'm going to have to think this through. Then I'm going to invite Father Flynn into my office on an unrelated manner. You will be there.
But what good can I do?
Aside from the unacceptability of a priest and a nun being alone, I need a witness.
To what?
He may tell the truth and lie afterwards.
The boys are coming out of the rectory. They look happy enough.
They look smug, like they have a secret.
There he is.
If I could, Sister James, I would certainly choose to live in innocence. But innocence can only be wisdom in a world without evil. Situations arise, and we are confronted with wrongdoing and the need to act.
I have to take the boys up to class now.
Go on then. Take them. I will be talking to you.
The sound of wind. Sister Aloysius pulls her shawl tightly about her and goes. After a moment, Sister James goes as well. Scene 5. The principal's office. A phone rings. Sister Aloysius enters with a pot of tea, walking quickly to answer the phone.
Hello, St. Nicholas School? Oh yes, Mr. McGinn. Thank you for calling back. That was quite a windstorm that we had the other night. No, I didn't know that there was a great wind in Ireland and that you were there for it. That's fascinating. Yes, I was wondering if you would be so kind as to remove a tree limb that's fallen in the courtyard of the church. Sister Veronica tripped on it this morning and fell on her face. I think she's all right. She doesn't look any worse, Mr. McGinn. Thank you, Mr. McGinn.
There's a knock at the door. The door opens. Father Flynn is standing there in his black cassock. He doesn't come in.
Good morning, Sister Aloysius. How are you today?
Good morning, Father Flynn. Very well. Good of you to come by.
Are we ready for the meeting?
We're just short Sister James. Did you hear that wind last night?
I certainly did. Imagine what it must have been like in the frontier days when a man, alone in the woods, sat by a fire in his buckskins and listened to a sound like that. Oh, imagine the loneliness, the immense darkness pressing in. How frightening it must have been.
If one lacked faith in God's protection, I suppose it would be frightening.
Did you hear Sister Veronica had an accident?
Yes, Sister Veronica fell on a piece of wood this morning and practically killed herself.
Is she all right?
Oh, she's fine.
Her sight isn't good, is it?
Her sight is fine. Nuns fall, you know.
No, I didn't know that.
It's the habit. It catches us up more often than not. What with our being in black and white and so prone to falling, we're more like dominoes than anything else.
Am I past the time?
Not at all. Sister Aloysius and I were just having a nice chat.
Good morning, Father Flynn. Good morning, sister. I'm so sorry I was delayed. Mr. McGinn has closed the courtyard to fix something, so I had to go back through the convent and out the side door, and then I ran into Sister Veronica.
How is she?
She has a bit of a bloody nose.
I'm beginning to think you're punching people.
Sister?
Well, after the incident with... Never mind. Well, come in, please. Sit down.
They come in and sit down. Father Flynn takes Sister Aloysius's chair. He's sitting at her desk. She reacts, but says nothing.
I actually have a pot of hot tea. And I close this, but not quite, for form's sake. Would you have a cup of tea, Father?
I would love a cup of tea.
Perhaps you could serve him, sister.
Of course.
And yourself, of course.
Would you like any tea, Sister Aloysius?
I've already had my cup.
Is there sugar?
Sugar? Yes. It's here somewhere. I put it in the drawer for Lent last year and never remembered to take it back out.
It mustn't have been much to give up then.
No, I'm sure you're right. Here it is. I'll serve you, though, for want of practice. Oh, your fingernails.
I wear them a little long. Sugar?
Oh, yes. 1,
3.
3.
Sweet tooth.
1, 2, 3. Sister, do you take sugar?
Never. Not that there's anything wrong with sugar. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Father, for making the time for us. We're at our wits' end.
I think it's an excellent idea to rethink the Christmas pageant. Last year's effort was a little woebegone.
No, I loved it. But I love all Christmas pageants. I love the nativity. Oh, the birth of the Savior and the hymns, of course. O little town of Bethlehem. O come, Emmanuel.
Thank you, Sister James. Sister James will be co-directing the pageant with Mrs. Shields this year. So what do you think, Father Flynn? Is there something new we could do?
Well, we all love the Christmas hymns, but it might be jolly to include a secular song.
Secular.
Yes, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, something like that.
What would be the point of performing a secular song?
Fun.
Or Frosty the Snowman.
That's a good one. We could have one of the boys dressed as a snowman and dance around.
Which boy?
We do tryouts.
Frosty the Snowman espouses a pagan belief in magic. The snowman comes to life when an enchanted hat is put on his head. If the music were more somber, people would realize the images are disturbing and the song heretical.
I would have never thought about Frosty the Snowman like that.
It should be banned from the airways.
So, not Frosty the Snowman.
I don't think so. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas would be fine, I suppose. The parents would like it. May I ask what you wrote down with that ballpoint pen?
Oh, nothing. Just an idea for a sermon.
You had one just now.
I get them all the time.
How fortunate.
I forget them, so I write them down.
What is the idea?
Intolerance.
Would you like some more tea, Father?
Not yet. I think a message of the Second Ecumenical Council was that the church needs to take on a more familiar face, reflect the local community. We should sing a song from the radio now and then, take the kids out for ice cream.
Ice cream.
Maybe take the boys on a camping trip. We should be friendlier. The children and parents should see us as members of their family rather than emissaries from Rome. I think the pageant should be charming, like a community theater doing a show.
But we are not members of their family. We are different.
Why? Because of our vows?
Precisely.
I don't think we're so different. You know, I would take some more tea, sister. Thank you.
And they think we're different. The working class people of this parish trust us to be different.
I think we're getting off the subject.
Yes, you're right. Back to it. The Christmas pageant. We must be careful of how Donald Muller is used in the pageant.
Easy there, sister. Don't spill.
Oh, yes, Father.
What about Donald Muller?
We must be careful in the pageant that we neither hide Donald Muller nor put him forward.
Because of the color of his skin.
That's right.
Why?
Come, Father, you're being disingenuous.
I think he should be treated like every other boy.
You yourself singled the boy out for special attention. You held a private meeting with him at the rectory. A week ago?
Yes.
What are we talking about?
Donald Muller?
The boy acted strangely when he returned to class.
He did?
When he returned from the rectory, a little odd, yes.
Can you tell us why?
How did he act strangely?
I'm not sure how to explain it. He laid his head on his desk.
You mean you had some impression?
Yes.
And he'd come from the rectory, so you're asking me if I know anything about it?
Yes, that's it.
Did you want to discuss the pageant? Is that why I'm here, or is this what you wanted to discuss?
This.
Well, I feel a little uncomfortable.
Why?
Why do you think? Something about your tone.
I would prefer a discussion of fact rather than tone.
Well, if I had judged my conversation with Donald Muller to be of concern to you, sister, I would have sat you down and talked to you about it. But I did not judge it to be of concern to you.
Perhaps you are mistaken in your understanding of what concerns me. The boy is in my school, and his well-being is my responsibility.
Well, his well-being is not at issue.
I'm not satisfied that that is true. He was upset when he returned to class.
Did he say something?
No.
What happened in the rectory?
Happened? Nothing happened. I had a talk with the boy.
What about?
It was a private matter.
He's 12 years old. What could be private?
I'll say it again, sister. I object to your tone.
This is not about my tone or your tone, Father Flynn. It's about arriving at the truth.
Of what?
You know what I'm talking about, don't you? You're controlling the expression on your face right now, aren't you?
My face? You said you wanted to talk about the pageant, sister. That's why I'm here. Am I to understand that you brought me into your office to confront me in some way? It's outrageous. I'm not answerable to you. What exactly are you accusing me of?
I'm not accusing you of anything, Father Flynn. I'm asking you to tell me what happened in the rectory.
I don't wish to continue this conversation at all further. And if you are dissatisfied with that, I suggest you speak to Monsignor Benedict. I can only imagine that your unfortunate behavior this morning is the result of overwork. Perhaps you need a leave of absence. I may suggest it. Have a good morning, sister.
Good morning, Father.
There was alcohol on his breath when he returned from his meeting with you.
Alcohol.
I did smell it on his breath.
Well,
Can you let this alone?
no.
I see there's no way out of this.
Take your time, Father. Would you like some more tea?
You should have let it alone.
Not possible.
Donald Muller served as altar boy last Tuesday morning. After Mass, Mr. McGinn caught him in the sacristy drinking altar wine. When I found out, I sent for him. There were tears. He begged not to be removed from the altar boys, and I took pity on him. I told him if no one else found out, I would let him stay on.
What a relief! That explains everything. Thanks be to God. Oh, sister, look, it was all a mistake.
And if I speak to Mr. McGinn?
Talk to Mr. McGinn by all means. But now that the boy's secret's out, I'm going to have to remove him from the altar boys. Which is, I think it's too bad. That's what I was trying to avoid.
You were trying to protect the boy.
That's right.
I might have done the same thing. Is there a way that Donald Muller can stay on the altar boys?
No. If he drank the altar wine, he cannot continue as an altar boy.
Of course, you're right. Just not the disciplinarian you are, sister. And he is the only Negro in the school. That did affect my thinking on the matter. It will be commented on that he is no longer serving at Mass. It's a public thing. A certain ignorant element in the parish will be confirmed in their beliefs.
He must be held to the same standard as others.
Of course. Do we need to discuss the pageant, or was that just...
No, this was the issue.
Are you satisfied?
Yes.
Then I'll be going. I have some writing to do.
Intolerance.
That's right. I'm not pleased with how you handled this, sister. Next time you are troubled by dark ideas, I suggest you speak to the Monsignor.
Well, I mean, what a relief. He cleared it all up.
You believe him?
Of course.
Isn't it more that it's easier to believe him?
But we can corroborate his story with Mr. McGinn.
Yes. These types of people are clever. They're not so easily undone.
Well, I'm convinced.
You're not. You just want things to be resolved so you can have simplicity back.
I want no further part of this.
I'll bring him down, with or without your help.
How can you be so sure he's lying?
Experience.
You just don't like him. You don't like that he uses a ballpoint pen. You don't like that he takes 3 lumps of sugar in his tea. You don't like that he likes Frosty the Snowman. And you're letting that convince you of something terrible. Just terrible. Well, I like Frosty the Snowman, and it would be nice if this school weren't run like a prison, and I think it's a good thing that I love to teach history and that I might inspire my students and that to love it too and to love school. And if you judge that to mean that I'm not fit to be a teacher, well then, so be it.
Sit down. In ancient Sparta, important matters were decided by who shouted the loudest. Fortunately, we are not in Sparta. Now, do you honestly find the students in this school to be treated like inmates in a prison?
No, I don't. Actually, by and large, they seem to be fairly happy. They're uniformly terrified of you.
Yes, that's how it works, sister. Sit there.
Sister Aloysius looks in a notebook, picks up a phone and dials.
Hello, this is Sister Aloysius Bouvier, the principal at St. Nicholas. Is this Mrs. Muller? I'm calling you about your son, Donald. I would like you and your husband to come down here for a talk. When would be convenient?
Lights fade. Scene 6. Father Flynn in blue and white vestments is at the pulpit.
A woman was gossiping with a friend about a man she hardly knew. I know none of you have never done this. And that night she had a dream. A great hand appeared over her and pointed down at her. She was immediately seized with an overwhelming sense of guilt. The next day she went to confession. She got the old parish priest, Father O'Rourke, and she told him the whole thing. "Is gossip a sin?" she asked the old man. "Was that the hand of God Almighty pointing a finger at me? Should I be asking your absolution? Father, tell me, have I done something wrong?" "Yes," Father O'Rourke answered her. "Yes, you ignorant, badly brought up female. You have borne false witness against your neighbor. You have played fast and loose with his reputation, and you should be heartily ashamed." So the woman said she was sorry and asked forgiveness. "Not so fast," says Father O'Rourke. "I want you to go home, take a pillow up on your roof, cut it open with a knife, and return here to me." So she went home, took the pillow off her bed, a knife from her drawer, went up the fire escape to the roof, and stabbed the pillow. Then she went back to the old priest as instructed. "Did you gut the pillow with the knife?" He says. "Yes, Father." "And what was the result?" "Feathers," she said. "Feathers," he repeated. "Feathers everywhere, Father." "Now I want you to go back and gather up every last feather that flew out into the wind." "Well," she says, "it can't be done. I don't know where they went. The wind took them all over." "And that," said Father O'Rourke, "is gossip." In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Scene 7. The lights crossfade to the garden. A crow caws. Sister James sits on the bench, deep in thought. Father Flynn enters.
Good afternoon, Sister James.
Good afternoon, Father.
What is that bird complaining about? What kind of bird is that? A starling? A grackle?
A crow?
Of course it is. Are you praying? I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm not praying, no.
You seem subdued.
I can't sleep.
Why not?
Bad dreams. Actually, one bad dream, and then I haven't slept right since.
What about?
I look in a mirror, and there's a darkness where my face should be. It frightened me.
I can't sleep on occasion, too.
No? Do you see that big hand pointing a finger at you?
Yes, sometimes.
Was your sermon directed at someone in particular?
What do you think?
Did you make up that story about the pillow?
Yes. You make up little stories to illustrate, in the tradition of a parable.
Aren't the things that actually happen in life more worthy of interpretation than a made-up story?
No. What actually happens in life is beyond interpretation. The truth makes for a bad sermon. It tends to be confusing and have no clear conclusion.
I received a letter from my brother in Maryland yesterday. He's very sick.
Maybe you should go and see him.
I can't leave my class.
How's Donald Muller doing?
I don't know.
You don't see him?
I see him every day, but I don't know how he's doing. I don't know how to judge these things now.
I stopped speaking to him for fear of it being misunderstood. Isn't that a shame? I actually avoided him the other day when I might have passed him in the hall. He doesn't understand why. I noticed you didn't come to me for confession.
No, I went to Monsignor Benedict. He's very kind.
I wasn't?
It wasn't that. As you know why.
You're against me?
No,
You're not convinced?
it's not for me to be convinced one way or the other. It's Sister Aloysius.
Are you just an extension of her?
She is my superior.
But what about you?
I wish I knew nothing whatsoever about it. I wish the idea had never entered my mind.
How did it enter your mind?
Sister Aloysius.
I feel as if my reputation has been damaged through no fault of my own, but I'm reluctant to take the steps necessary to repair it for fear of doing further harm. It's so frustrating, I can tell you that.
Is it true?
What?
You know what I'm asking.
No, it's not true.
I don't know what to believe.
How can you take sides against me?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. I've done nothing. There's no substance to any of this. The most innocent actions can appear sinister to the poisoned mind. I had to throw that poor boy off the altar. He's devastated. The only reason I haven't gone to the Monseigneur is I don't want to tear apart the school. Sister Aloysius would most certainly lose her position as principal if I made her accusations known. Since they're baseless, you might lose your place as well.
Are you threatening me?
What do you take me for? No.
I want to believe you.
Then do. It's as simple as that.
It's not me that has to be convinced.
I don't have to prove anything to her.
She's determined.
To what?
Protect the boy.
It's me that cares about the boy, not her. Has she ever reached out a hand to that child or any child in this school? She's like a block of ice. Children need warmth, kindness, understanding. What does she give them? Rules. That black boy needs a helping hand or he's not going to make it here. But if she has her way, he'll be left to his own undoing. Why do you think he was in the sacristy drinking wine that day? He's in trouble. She sees me talk in a human way to these children, and she immediately assumes there must be something wrong with it, something dirty. Well, I'm not going to let her keep this parish in the Dark Ages, and I'm not going to let her destroy my spirit of compassion.
I'm sure that's not her intent.
I care about this congregation.
I know you do.
Like you care about your class. You love them, don't you?
Yes.
That's natural. How else would you relate to children? I can look at your face and know your philosophy. Kindness.
I don't know. I mean, of course.
What is Sister Aloysius's philosophy, do you suppose?
I don't have to suppose. She told me. She discourages warmth. She suggested I be more formal.
There are people who go after your humanity, Sister James, who tell you the light in your heart is a weakness, that your soft feelings betray you. I don't believe that. It's an old tactic of cruel people to kill kindness in the name of virtue. Don't believe it. There is nothing wrong with love.
Of course not.
Have you forgotten that was the message of the Savior to us all? Love, not suspicion, disapproval, and judgment. Love of people. Have you found Sister Aloysius a positive inspiration?
I don't want to misspeak, but no, she's taken away my joy of teaching. I love teaching more than anything.
There. It's all right. You're going to be all right.
I feel as though everything is upside down.
It isn't, though. There are just times in life when we feel lost. You're not alone with it. It happens to many of us.
A bond. I'd better go in.
I'm sorry your brother is ill.
Thank you, Father. You know, I don't believe it.
You don't?
No.
Thank you, Sister Aloysius. Thank you, sister. That is a great relief to me. Thank you very much.
She goes. He takes out his little black book and writes in it. The crow caws. He yells at it.
Oh, be quiet.
Then he opens a prayer book and walks away. Scene 8. Crossfade to the principal's office. Sister Aloysius is sitting looking out the window, very still. A knock at the door. She doesn't react. A second knock, louder. She pulls an earplug out of her ear and scurries to the door. She opens it. There stands Mrs. Muller, a black woman of about 38, in her Sunday best, dressed for church. She's on red alert.
Mrs. Muller,
Yes.
come in. Please have a seat.
I thought I might have had a wrong day when you didn't answer the door.
Oh, yes. Well, just between us, I was listening to a transistor radio with an earpiece. Look how tiny they're making them now. I confiscated it from one of the students, and now I can't stop using it.
You like music.
Not really. News reports. Years ago, I used to listen to all the news reports because my husband was in Italy in the war. When I came into possession of this little radio, I found myself doing it again. There is no war, and the voices have changed.
You were a married woman?
Yes, but then he was killed. Is your husband coming?
Couldn't get off work.
I see. Of course, it was a lot to ask.
How's Donald doing?
He's passing his subjects. He has average grades.
Oh, good. He was upset about getting taken off the altar boys.
Did he explain why?
He said he was caught drinking wine.
That is the reason.
Well, that seems fair, but he's a good boy, sister. He fell down there, but he's a good boy, pretty much down the line. And he knows what an opportunity he has here. I think the whole thing was just a bit much for him.
What do you mean, the whole thing?
He's the only colored here. He's a first in this school. That'd be a lot for a boy.
I suppose it is. But he has to do the work, of course.
He is doing it though, right?
Yes. He's getting by. He's getting through. How is he at home?
His father beat the hell out of him over that wine.
He shouldn't do that.
You don't tell my husband what to do. You just stand back. He didn't want Donald to come here.
Why not?
Thought he'd have a lot of trouble with the other boys. But that hasn't really happened as far as I can make out.
Good.
That priest, Father Flynn, been watching out for him.
Yes. Have you met Father Flynn?
Not exactly, no. I've seen him on the altar, but I haven't met him face to face. No, just, heard from Donald.
What does he say?
Oh, Father Flynn, Father Flynn. He looks up to him. That man gives him his time, which is what that boy needs. He needs that.
Mrs. Muller, we may have a problem.
Well, I thought you must have had a reason for asking me to come in. Principal's a big job. If you stop your day to talk to me, must be something. I just want to say, though, it's just till June.
Excuse me?
Whatever the problem is, Donald has just to make it here till June. Then he's off into high school.
Right.
If Donald can graduate from here, he has a better chance of getting into a good high school, and that would mean an opportunity at college. I believe he has the intelligence, and he wants it too.
I don't see anything at this time standing in the way of his graduating with his class.
Well, that's all I care about. Anything else is right with me.
I doubt that.
Try me.
I'm concerned about the relationship between Father Flynn and your son.
You don't say. Concerned. What do you mean, concerned?
That it may not be right.
Uh-huh. Well, there's something wrong with everybody, isn't that so? Gotta be forgiving.
I'm concerned, to be frank, that Father Flynn may have made advances on your boy.
May have made?
I can't be certain.
No evidence?
No.
Then maybe there's nothing to it.
I think there's something to it.
Well, I'd prefer not to see it that way if you don't mind.
I can understand that this is hard to hear. I think Father Flynn gave Donald that altar wine.
Why would he do that?
Has Donald been acting strangely?
No,
Nothing out of the ordinary?
he's been himself.
All right.
Look, sister, I don't want any trouble. And I feel like you're on the march somehow.
I'm not sure you completely understand.
I think I understand the kind of thing you're talking about, but I don't want to get into it.
What's that?
Not to be disagreeing with you, but if we're talking about something floating around between this priest and my son, that ain't my son's fault.
I'm not suggesting it is.
Just a boy,
I know.
12 years old. If somebody should be taking blame for anything, it should be the man, not the boy.
I agree with you completely.
You're agreeing with me, but I'm sitting in the principal's office talking about my son. Why isn't the priest in the principal's office? If you know what I'm saying, you'll excuse my bringing it up.
You're here because I'm concerned about Donald's welfare.
You think I'm not?
Of course you are.
Let me ask you something. You honestly think that priest gave Donald wine to drink?
Yes, I do.
Then how come my son got kicked off the altar boys if it was the man that gave it to him?
The boy got caught, the man didn't.
How come the priest didn't get kicked off the priesthood?
He's a grown man, educated, and he knows what's at stake. It's not so easy to pin someone like that down.
So you give my son the whole blame. No problem, my son getting blamed and punished. That's easy. You know why that is?
Perhaps you should let me talk. I think you're getting upset.
That's because that's the way it is. You're just finding out about it, but that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's been, sister. You're not going to go against a man in a robe and win. Sister, he's got the position.
And he's got your son.
Let him have him then.
What?
It's just till June.
Do you know what you're saying?
No more about it than you.
I believe this man is creating or has already brought about an improper relationship with your son.
I don't know.
I know I'm right.
Why do you need to know something like that for sure when you don't? Please, sister, you got some kind of righteous cause going on with this priest, and now you want to drag my boy into it? My son doesn't need additional difficulties. Let him take the good and leave the rest where he leaves this place in June. He knows how to do that. I taught him how to do that.
What kind of mother are you?
Excuse me? But you don't know enough about life to say a thing like that, sister.
I know enough.
You know the rules, maybe, but that don't cover it.
I know what I won't accept.
You accept what you gotta accept, and you work with it. That's the truth, I know. Sorry to be so sharp, but you're here in this room.
This man is in my school.
Well, he's gotta be somewhere, and maybe he's doing some good too. You ever think of that?
It's after the boys.
Well, maybe some of the boys want to get caught. Maybe when you don't know maybe what my son is. That way. That's why his father beat him up, not the wine. He beat Donald for being what he is.
What are you telling me?
I'm his mother. I'm talking about his nature now, not anything he's done. But you can't hold a child responsible for what God gave him to be.
Listen to me with care, Mrs. Muller. I'm only interested in actions. It's hopeless to discuss a child's possible inclination. I'm finding it difficult enough to address a man's deeds. This isn't about what a boy may be, but what a man is. It's about the man.
But there's the boy's nature.
Let's leave that out of this.
Forget it then. You're the one forcing people to say those things out loud. Things are in the air and you leave them alone if you can. That's what I know. My boy came to this school because they were going to kill him at the public school. So we were lucky enough to get him here for his last year. Good. His father don't like him. He comes here, the kids don't like him. One man is good to him. This priest puts out a hand to the boy. Does a man have his reasons? Yes. Everybody has their reasons. You have your reasons. But do I ask the man why he's good to my son? No. I don't care why. My son needs some man to care about him and see him through to where he wants to go. And thank God this educated man with some kindness in him wants to do just that.
This will not do.
It's just till June. Some things aren't black and white.
Sometimes they are. I'll throw your son out of this school. You mark my words, make no mistake.
But why would you do that if nothing started with him?
Because I'll stop this whatever I must.
You'd hurt my son to get your way?
It won't end with your son. There will be others if there aren't already.
Throw the priest out then.
I'm trying to do just that.
Well, what do you want from me?
Nothing. As it turns out, I was hoping you might know something that would help me, but it seems that you don't.
Please, leave my son out of this. My husband would kill that child over a thing like this.
I'll try.
I don't know, sister. You may think you're doing good, but the world's a hard place. I don't know that you and me are on the same side. I'll be standing with my son and those who are good with my son. It'd be nice to see you there. Nice talking with you, sister. Good morning.
She goes, leaving the door open behind her. Sister Aloysius is shaken. After a moment, Father Flynn appears at the door. He is in a controlled fury.
May I come in?
We would require a third party.
What was Donald's mother doing here?
We were having a chat.
About what?
A third party is required, Father.
No, sister, no third party. You and me are due for a talk.
He comes in and slams the door behind him. They face each other.
You have to stop this campaign against me.
You can stop it at any time.
How?
Confess and resign.
You are attempting to destroy my reputation, but the result of all of this is going to be your removal, not mine.
What are you doing in this school?
I am trying to do good.
Or even more to the point, what are you doing in the priesthood?
You are single-handedly holding this school and this parish back.
From what?
Progressive education and a welcoming church.
You can't distract me, Father Flynn. This isn't about my behavior, it's about yours.
It's about your unfounded suspicions.
That's right, I have suspicions.
You know what I haven't understood through all this? Why do you suspect me? What have I done?
You gave that boy wine to drink, and you let him take the blame.
That's completely untrue. Did you talk to Mr. McGinn?
All McGinn knows is that the boy drank wine. He doesn't know how he came to drink it.
Did his mother have something to add to that?
No,
So that's it. There's nothing there.
I'm not satisfied.
Well, if you're not satisfied, then ask the boy.
No, he'd protect you. That's what he's been doing.
Oh, and why would he do that?
Because you have seduced him.
You're insane. You've got it in your head that I've corrupted this child after giving him wine, and nothing I say will change that.
That's right.
But correct me if I'm wrong. This has nothing to do with the wine. Not really. You had a fundamental mistrust of me before this incident. It was you that warned Sister James to be on the lookout, wasn't it?
That's true.
So you admit it.
Certainly.
Why?
I know people.
That's not good enough.
It won't have to be.
How's that?
You will tell me what you've done.
Oh, I will.
Yes.
I'm not one of your truant boys, you know. Sister James is convinced I'm innocent.
So you talked to Sister James. Well, of course you talked to Sister James.
Did you know that Donald's father beats him?
Yes.
And might that not account for the odd behavior Sister James noticed in the boy?
It might.
Then what is it? What? What did you hear? What did you see that convinced you so thoroughly?
What does it matter?
I want to know.
On the first day of the school year, I saw you touch William London's wrist, and I saw him pull away.
That's all?
That was all.
That's nothing.
What are you writing now?
You leave me no choice. I'm writing down what you say. I tend to get too flustered to remember the details of an upsetting conversation, and this may be important. When I talk to the Monsignor and explain why you have to be removed as principal at this school.
This morning, before I spoke with Mrs. Muller, I took the precaution of calling the last parish where you were assigned.
What did he say?
Who?
The pastor.
I didn't speak to the pastor. I spoke to one of the nuns.
You should have spoken to the pastor.
I spoke to a nun.
That's not the proper route for you to have taken, sister. The church is very clear. You're supposed to go through the pastor.
Why? Do you have an understanding, you and he? Father Flynn, you have a history.
You have no right to go rummaging through my past.
This is your third parish in 5 years.
Call the pastor and ask him why I left. It was perfectly innocent.
I'm not calling the pastor.
I am a good priest. There's nothing in my record to suggest otherwise.
You will go after another child and another until you are stopped.
What nun did you speak to?
Won't say.
I've not touched a child.
You have.
You haven't the slightest proof of anything.
But I have my certainty, and armed with that, I will go to your last parish and the one before that if necessary. I will find a parent, Father Flynn. Trust me, I will. A parent who probably doesn't know that you are still working with children. And once I do, you will be exposed. You may even be attacked, metaphorically or otherwise.
You have no right to act on your own. You are a member of a religious order. You have taken vows, obedience being one. You answer to us. You have no right to step outside the church.
I will step outside the church if that's what needs to be done, so the door will shut behind me. I will do what needs to be done, Father, if it means I'm damned to hell. You should understand that, or you will mistake me. Now, did you give Donald Muller the wine to drink?
Have you never done anything wrong?
I have.
Mortal sin?
Yes.
And?
I confessed it. Did you give Donald Muller the wine to drink?
Whatever I have done, I have left in the healing hands of my confessor, as have you. We are the same.
We are not the same. A dog that bites is a dog that bites. I do not justify what I do wrong and go on. I admit, I desist, and I take my medicine. Did you give Donald Muller wine to drink?
No.
Mental reservation?
No.
You lie. Very well then. If you won't leave my office, I will. And once I go, I will not stop.
Wait.
You will request a transfer from this parish. You will take a leave of absence until it is granted.
Do what, for the love of God? My life is here.
Don't.
Please. We are people. Am I a person of flesh and blood like you? Or are we just ideas and convictions? I can't say anything. Do you understand? There are things I can't say. Even if you can't imagine the explanation, sister, remember that there are circumstances beyond your knowledge. Even if you feel certainty, it is an emotion, not a fact. In the spirit of charity, I appeal to you. On behalf of my life's work, you have behaved responsibly. You have to behave responsibly. I put myself in your hands.
I don't want you.
My reputation is at stake.
You can preserve your reputation.
If you say these things, I won't be able to do my work in the community.
Your work in the community should be discontinued.
You'd leave me with nothing.
That's not true. It's Donald Muller who has nothing, and you took full advantage of that.
I have done nothing wrong. I care about that boy very much.
Because you smile at him and sympathize with him and talk to him as if you were the same?
That child needed a friend.
You were a cheat. The warm feeling you experienced when that boy looked at you with trust was not the sensation of virtue. It can be gotten by a drunkard from his tot of rum. You are a disgrace to the caller. The only reason you haven't been thrown into the church is the decline in vocations.
I can fight you.
You will lose.
You can't know that.
I know.
Where's your compassion?
Nowhere you can get it. Stay here. Compose yourself. Use the phone if you would like. Good day, Father. I have no sympathy for you. I know you're invulnerable to true regret. And cut your nails.
She goes, closing the door behind her. After a moment, he goes to the phone and dials.
Yes, this is Father Brendan Flynn of St. Nicholas Parish. I need to make an appointment to see the bishop.
The lights fade. Scene 9. Lights crossfade to Sister Aloysius walking into the garden. It's a sunny day. She sits on the bench. Sister James enters.
How's your brother?
Better, much better.
I'm very glad. I prayed for him.
It was good to get away. I needed to see my family. It had been too long.
Then I'm glad you did it.
And Father Flynn is gone.
Yes.
Where?
St. Jerome's.
So you did it. You got him out.
Yes.
Donald Muller is heartbroken that he's gone.
Can't be helped. It's just till June.
I don't think Father Flynn did anything wrong.
No? He convinced you?
Yes, he did.
Hmm.
Did you ever prove it?
What?
That he interfered with Donald Muller?
Did I ever prove it to whom?
Anyone but yourself.
No.
But you were sure.
Yes.
I wish I could be like you.
Why?
Because I can't sleep at night anymore. Everything seems so uncertain to me.
Maybe we're not supposed to sleep so well. They've made Father Flynn the pastor at St. Jerome.
Who?
The bishop appointed Father Flynn the pastor of St. Jerome Church and school. It's a promotion.
You didn't tell them.
I told our good Monsignor Benedict. I crossed the garden and I told him. He did not believe it to be true.
Then why did Father Flynn leave? What did you say that made him go?
That I had called a nun in his previous parish. That I had found out his prior history of infringements.
So you did prove it.
I was lying. I made no such call.
You lied?
Yes. But if he had had no such history, the lie wouldn't have worked. His resignation was his confession. He was what I thought he was, and he's gone.
I can't believe you lied.
In the spirit of wrongdoing, one steps away from God. Of course there's a price.
I see. So now he's at another school.
Yes. Oh, Sister James.
What is it, sister?
Oh, I have doubts. I have such doubts.
Sister Aloysius is bent with emotion. Sister James comforts her. Lights fade. End of play. Bum, bum, bum. Such doubts. Thank you very much, everybody, for what a wonderful rendering of such a powerful play, dealing with such important topics. Yeah, come on back, everybody. Come on back. What do we think? Like it says, he specifically titled the play "Doubt," a parable. If this is a parable, that means that there is a lesson to be learned. What kind of lessons do you think the author was trying to get home to us? This is a question for our viewers too. I think we're up to 17 viewers on the live stream. First off, thank you very much. And side note, Kathy, is this your birthday today?
It's my birthday.
Oh, hey!
Happy birthday!
Yeah, it's a great way to spend a birthday, I would say.
Oh, happy birthday, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is wonderful. Yeah, I had no idea until I came onto Facebook this morning. I was like, okay, that's great. So happy birthday. Thanks so much for spending your birthday with us today.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, what are our thoughts on this really concise, thoughtful, elegant script? What kind of parable do you think this was about? What do you think the author was hoping that people would take away from it?
Nobody's got anything to say.
But you are getting lots of happy birthdays in the comments as well, Kathy.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Okay, but folks, about the parable.
You know what? Like, go ahead.
I think that it's really it's just an extension of Father Flynn's original sermon at the beginning. That doubt can be as powerful a bond as certainty, and I think we saw that in both of the sisters. I mean, despite the fact that she said she had doubts at the end, Sister Aloysius was extremely certain in her convictions. She had no proof, but she had certainty. Sister James, on the other hand, was filled with doubt throughout the entire time. She fluctuated back and forth, and yet still in that doubt, it kept her going in the story, and gave her a place in it when she could have just simply backed out of it, and washed her hands of it. So a lot of, especially in the arena of faith, people feel that that when they experience doubt, that they're failing in their faith, but that's not true. Doubt is actually, I believe, the beginning of the strengthening of your faith. That you can't, the instant you start believing things because people tell you to, that's not faith. That's brainwashing. Doubt starts you on the path of finding out what you want to believe, what you think you should believe, what you ought to believe, and I think that's a part of this story here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for me, it reminded me of when people want to dig into the Bible and explain it all. Like, okay, there is an explanation for everything. Okay, this thing over here, this is what that was about, and this is what that was about, and this is what that was about. Oh, I figured it out. Okay, good. There's nothing gray anymore. I've got it all down pat. And there's like, how is that faith, right? Like that isn't faith. That's just you needing to know. That's relying on yourself. And if it's important for you to be saying that this is my system for believing in something bigger than myself, but it's being so reliant upon you and your own understanding, then you are fooling yourself. Is my thoughts on that kind of, on the role of doubt.
I also think that there's a really beautiful juxtaposition between the sisters because they are so different and they're kind of mirroring each other. And I think it also shows, like in Sister James specifically, where you really do need to stand on your own 2 feet. And there are times where doubt actually cripples you. So I think it shows like the juxtaposition between when doubt does have the role of building you up and is able to strengthen you. But then there is a point where you need to make it through the doubt. Like if you just live in constant doubt, like I feel like that can really weigh on you. And I feel like that's kind of what happens to Sister James's character, is she just constantly is like piling more and more doubt into her backpack. And she's not making it through. She's just constantly doubting her abilities. And then it ends up really affecting her, I think, in a negative way, because I think that she had this like spark of, sunshine and joy for her job. And then that doubt kind of ended up really weighing her down. So I really, really like to see kind of a continuation of her narrative and to see her make it through, because I don't really think we got to see that in this play.
Really?
I think it would be really interesting also to think about who Sister Aloysius was when she was Sister James's age, right? Like what did 30 years of being a nun beat out of her, right? Like maybe she came in hopeful and sunshiny young, right? And then was like, there's bad things that are happening and women never get heard, and that all of these things are happening, and we're losing kids.
She lost her husband too,
getting
right?
in trouble, and we're all of these pieces that then she develops this like harder skin, right? That looks like she doesn't care, but she cares so much.
Yeah.
Right? But
I saw her in a much more sympathetic light during this read, especially in that conversation that she had at the end with Father Flynn. Just like how actually she is so incredibly passionate about the well-being of the kids, and that is why she is being so relentless. Like she won't let up, because she truly does believe that harm is being done to the kids, And so she's just like, even though at the end she does admit that she has doubts about what she's done, she allows her passion for the kids to kind of propel her forward.
See, I interpret that differently. I don't think she has doubts about what she's done. I think she has doubts about the church. Because she's reported someone who's harmed a child, who may have already harmed a child, and he's been moved to another school and given a promotion.
Yes.
Right. And so she's gone in and said, this person is dangerous to children. And they've said, we can't listen to you. We don't listen to children. Yeah. We're going to put him here. And that would, like, her whole faith system, as opposed to, I think she goes to the wall on this one, that she's done the right thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I too I'm curious to know what her backstory is, right? Like how she got to where she is. And it'll be interesting. Like, I'm thinking about, okay, so moving forward now, right? So if you're talking about her having doubts about and wondering even if the church will listen to what she has to say, right? How will this harden her more? How will it entrench her certainty that this is actually happening? And it's really, it's quite sad, because if, you know, she has this genuine care for the kids, it's so, it's almost paralyzing. Like, there's no other option but to do what she does in order to care for the kids. Like, there isn't any other option of being kind, about warm, about having the idea that you could ask questions. And so, yeah, the question is, well, what happened to her before to make her like with the way she is now? But gosh, like, you know, part two.
Yeah. And also, like, what is her, right? Like, she was married, like, and her husband was killed in the war. Like, did she want to have children and they didn't? Right. And now she's teaching, you know, she's in the school and she's trying to, like, take care of all of these children, right, in a way, and that piece of loss that she never had.
And maybe that might explain her, like, her, that it appears that she's so cold towards the kids. Maybe it's about a guardedness, right? That she's been hurt so much in the past that she really can't. Gosh, I'm feeling like very sympathetic towards her now.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that if you get too close to them, like she tells Sister James in the beginning, if you're too close, then you're not paying attention, right? You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen it in teachers today too. I think there is a selfless love in the way that Sister Aloysius does it, because she says that Sister James is always performing, and Sister James, like, longs for love and longs for the kids to love her. And there is, like, I am 100% that teacher. Like, I love it when my kids love me. Obviously, I'm sure that lots of teachers are like me in that. And I know some teachers that actually, like, they're at the point in their career where they're like, I don't care if the kids love me. Like, I'm getting the job done, but they do care immensely, but it's like a selfless love. Like, they don't need it to be reciprocated.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I read Sister Aloysius this time. She doesn't need the love to be reciprocated. She can be comfortable in her own head knowing she's doing her best job for them, and she doesn't need for them to see it that way.
Yeah.
Couple comments coming in from our viewers. Herschel says faith allows one to ask questions and to seek for the truth. So I'm going to interpret that as it's okay to dig in deeper if you're into scary areas, if faith allows you, I guess is what Herschel is saying there.
Herschel's my stepmom. No. Hi, Herschel.
Kelly Brenda says, I found Father Flynn fascinating, especially how he never doubted his convictions and never gave up on whatever it was he was doing. We hope it wasn't sinister. We will never know. He had faith, and maybe I missed it, but never had doubt. Mr. Malcolm Roulette, thanks for joining us, Mr. Malcolm, says the church needs its Sister Aloysius's.
The what?
And then, Gultar Reese?
What did Malcolm say?
Walter. His name is Gwalter.
Walter.
Walter with a G, yeah.
Thanks for introducing me to this way to appreciate drama. We'll have to definitely attend the next performance. It's great to hear all the actors' insights. And thank you very much, Walter. And Mr. Corey, thanks for joining us again, Corey. In one part of the play, Sister Aloysius says she doesn't care if she is wrong about her convictions. She would rather be wrong and save a child than be right and doubt it, and not to do anything at the risk of the child's safety.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like, okay, so yeah, like when you're put in that rock and a hard place where do you sacrifice the child or do you sacrifice the man? Oh, that's so hard because, you know, yeah, he's a grown man and he has a life outside of this, but how many people is he currently helping? And if he is being sacrificed on, unfounded or poor conviction, then oh yeah, oh, that's such a hard dice to roll.
I find it really interesting also that Sister Aloysius spends the first half of the first scene there telling Sister James that there are specific channels that you must go through. We're in the church. We have to do these sorts of things. And then she spends the rest of the entire play going exactly against that.
And what choice does she have, right? Because that is the setup is not conducive to accountability, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
and that space of did she, she didn't actually do it, but she says, I went to a nun, right? And then that sort of made him more uncomfortable, right? You shouldn't have done that. I've got an agreement with the pastor, right? But no, women talk, right? And so, but aren't necessarily heard. And I think, certainly being on this side of 1964, right, and looking back and knowing that these things were happening in churches, and that these things were that priests were being just moved from one church to another, right? That she had this experience before in St. Boniface 8 years ago. They'd had to move somebody.
Caitlin Chris says maybe this happened in the parish before and the sister didn't say anything, and there is leftover guilt that drives her as well. So many questions and theories.
Yeah, I think I find the mother's character very, very interesting as well, right? I don't care what's happening to him, right? It's just a short period of time. We just need to get through it. It doesn't, I'm and that, I think that's just a very pragmatic approach, right?
Wow.
She's thinking about the boy's future. She's thinking 10 steps
Absolutely.
ahead, not to right now, right? Right now, she's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, this may be happening, but there's nothing we can do about that right now. My goal is to get my son from point A to point B, and if you mess with my point A to point B, then his
Don't rock the boat.
messed up. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
also
There's so many things that are happening already at home. The relationship between the boy and his father, that is so dysfunctional. That comes up a number of times, about him being beaten. And I think it's just there's just so much going on with the boy, that I think the mother just she feels okay, I can only handle certain amount of things. So I have to put blinders on. I have to put blinders on.
Yeah.
And that
Don't force this into my field of vision because I don't want to see this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's it's hard to believe, but there's a capacity there that she clearly has reached. And so she's asking for Sister Aloysius, come alongside me and let's just get him through. I can't bear the thought of having to deal with some of these other things that you're talking about. Because she knows the potential is there. It could, but she cannot face that.
Yeah.
but
And
also,
doesn't think that it's that bad.
Right. Well, because the boy gets beaten by his father and he's fine. He's doing well in school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, you see him getting abused, and Sister Aloysius actually doesn't have hard, fast evidence for you. So I think that you're just okay, right now in my mind, somebody's being kind to him, and so I'm just not going to ask questions. I could ask questions, and that could lead somewhere bad. So I'm just not going to ask questions. Right now in my mind, at school, he has somebody that's kind of taken him under his wing, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. You just pointed that out, and I just want to highlight it further. Sister Aloysius was told by the boy's mother that his father is beating him. His father she's got witness proof of a crime happening, and she is so determined to ruin Father Flynn that she just glosses over that. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. But Flynn!
But in 1964, that may not have been a crime.
To beat a child? Yes, it was.
Beating is yes, but it's also relative, right? So I don't know. It was more common, more publicly common, right?
Yeah.
A couple more comments here. Lyle Coop. Leaders and those in charge need to make difficult, heart-wrenching decisions that may be extremely hard and not always popular, but good leaders are not afraid to make those decisions. Malcolm asks, when Father Flynn referred to the Second Ecumenical Council, was he referring to Vatican II? Not sure when in the play this is set. 1964. I do not know anything about Catholic history, so I cannot answer that for you.
That was when we should be nice and eat ice cream with children.
Yes.
We were talking about the pageant.
Yeah. Just being more friendly. Yeah, I don't know what council that was specifically. Kelly Brenda says the mother in that time and with a husband that is abusive could kill the boy and just be forced on survive. I'm not reading this right. The mother in that time. Oh, now it all scrolled down. Come on. The mother in that time and with a husband that is abusive and could kill the boy also is just focused on survival of her son. Exactly.
Yes.
And especially if she's already has a feeling that, yeah, he's going to be gay. Like, it's like, this isn't the big deal that you're making it out of. I've got bigger worries for him than him finding comfort with a man. And especially because he doesn't have any kind of caring father figure in his life.
Yeah.
It gets blurry.
The other thing I'm just thinking of too, right? So going to the mother told her that that the boy was being beaten at home is, yes, she could do something with that, but what's she going to do with it? Because the mother's not going to repeat that, right? It's he said, she, or she said, right? And if she did, then what happens? Now you've got this poor mother who probably doesn't have a job, right? Or maybe, so she's, not the main income earner, and she's got this kid, and what are you going to do to her and the child if you get his father arrested or removed from the house, right? Yeah. And or if you say something, you send them both home, and the mother and the child will get beat, right? Mm-hmm. So,
and I think Corey's echoing that with his comments here. I think a lot of this play is about how many rights there's a hard choice between bad versus bad. Mother choosing to do something about her son and risk the future, but also being in public school and being beaten. Sister James, a choice between believing in the abuse or believing the father. Sister Aloysius, getting rid of the father or doing nothing. So much. Because I'm always really mindful when little details kind of like pop to the surface, like especially when watching a movie and you see that the screen cuts to one specific detail of something and then it cuts back. I'm just like, oh, what was that about? That's obviously going to be important at some point in the movie. The fact that it spent 1 second showing us exactly this. Sister Veronica, what's the deal? Why is she in here?
I thought about that last night.
I think part of it is that, and Sister Aloysius refers to it in other places about not, like she says, there's not enough sisters. We used to have a sister who taught music, but we don't anymore. And I can't lose another sister, right? And that piece of like an old blind nun is better than no nun, right? For the nuns, maybe not for the priests or the other side of it, right? Like there's some sort of balancing thing she's trying to do, right? Like that we need to keep our numbers strong on our side so that we can keep our base strong.
I think it also sets up Sister Aloysius's character, just like Matt said, like that she's willing to take a step back from God to do what she thinks is right, because she lies to Father Flynn and says that her eyesight is fine. And so I think that kind of it just tells the audience that she's willing to lie to a priest.
To protect. Always to protect, right? Yeah.
And it's not self-preservation. It's like for what she would see as a greater good.
Yes.
And what would happen to Sister Veronica, if she, what would happen to her? If they said that she had to go, what would happen to her? I mean, I don't actually know, but like the idea of like, so this little old blind nun gets kicked out into the world,
No,
right?
no,
Like,
Yeah.
then she
And it's not definitely, I don't think it's a villainizing thing, but it does show you that she is very rigid in some areas and she is not rigid in other areas, because I'm sure that there would be some nuns where to lie would be something that they would have a hard and fast rule about, but she clearly doesn't, for her idea of the greater good, like Kelly said.
yeah. Although I think it was also interesting because there was that one little reference to the previous Monsignor, Ms. Scully, I think he was, and that he was good. He was good, like he was solid, and whether or not she would have lied to a different priest, you know, like she doesn't respect Flynn, so why shouldn't she lie, right? Like she doesn't, you know, think he should be in that position.
Like for me, I just wonder, specifically because she's going blind. There was the tree. Can we get this tree thing taken care of? Oh, she got bloodied because she tripped over it, because she's going blind. Like for me, I makes me wonder: is this analogy of blind faith? Like, is this what you run the risk of? If you go through your faith blindly, are you going to be tripping and getting bloodied up and not as useful? But that's where my mind goes when I see that kind of detail. Luke says it's interesting that to Mrs. Muller, an inappropriate relationship with a mentor is a lower priority, but to Sister Aloysius, the beatings are a lower priority. C.S. Lewis wrote about a boys' school in his autobiography about older boys having homosexual relationships with younger boys, and he actually saw more sincere care and love in many of those lopsided relationships than in the rest of the school. He hated the rest of the school.
I think part of it is the reason that Sister puts lower priority on the beatings is because they're outside of her purview of control, right? Like she believes she runs that school and is responsible for what happens in that school. She's not responsible for what happens at his house, right? And she has no control over what happens at his house, but she can maneuver things to have some control within the school. And she's also concerned that there will be others, right? Like we all know it's only till June, so what happens next year, right?
Just want to take a moment to pause here. Remind everyone that we do this every Saturday night during these times. Next week we are reading The Importance of Being Earnest, which is going to be such a fun script. I like to flip-flop back and forth between weightier scripts and funner scripts. And this week was actually the heavy week. I don't know if you noticed, but next week it's going to be the rollicking fun and importance of being earnest. 9 people in that show. It's going to be our biggest one yet. Looking forward to putting that on. Got some folks who have put it on historically in the past. So they're going to be involved. Luke and Alana are going to be there. So it's just going to be a really great show. So that'll be 7 p.m. Saturday right here on the Real Live Entertainment Facebook page. And then after that, we're getting ready for our biggest show, which will be our reading Death of a Salesman. That'll be happening 2 weeks, May 16th.
Really great show.
Any other thoughts on this engaging show, engaging script, engaging reading characters, etc.? I think it's great that that the author doesn't want you to be certain, and that's hard for me because I analyze the information that's presented for me, and for me it's like, okay, because of A, B, C, and D, that mitigates Z, Y. Okay, so then I've come to my conclusion. And it's so hard for me personally to say, no, pull back. Don't get settled in a conclusion. Be open to uncertainty. Feel comfortable with uncertainty.
Yeah.
And go there and be okay with that. That is hard. That is challenging for me. But it's good and it's challenging because We need to be open to people and ideas, even if they're wrong.
I thought it was very interesting yesterday when we were done reading, and then we had this discussion about whether he had or whether he hadn't, and then I was it had never even occurred to me that everyone would not see it the way I saw it. Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? So yeah, no, it's really interesting.
I definitely think you can read this script like doubt and suspicion is a poison, and that's the first time I read the script. That is how I read it. That it was like a sick poison that it just creeped in. And the second time I read it, I definitely read Sister Aloysius's character differently. So I would encourage everybody to read the script more than once if you want some nice things to sit and ponder with during this time of quarantine.
Well, and I think the other important part of that is to balance that is that we also have to realize that I think that certainty can be just as poisonous when it's not based in truth or fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, because truth doesn't change based on our belief, unfortunately.
No. Yeah.
A truth is a truth, regardless of what you think about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again very much. Oh, sorry, Kathy, did you have any parting thoughts?
No, I just, like I said, I had sort of the similar impressions that Michelle did with the fact that, yeah, the first time I read it, it was like, wow, this is awful. You know, you shouldn't have all these doubts. And it does, I do have, preconceived ideas of doubt is really of weakness and it's not a good thing. But there are layers here where it really did help balance, and it kind of gave an openness, like the characters, if they had a doubt, that meant that in one hand they could also have an openness to be able to perceive other things and to maybe not be so, I guess, hell-bent on their own ideas. But like for me, there were so many layers here. I mean, there are just so many layers that the author put in there, right? Like the setting and the characters and who they were. And I'm left wondering, okay, so what's the backstory for everybody? And when Mrs. Mueller left the office, like, what did she do when she went home? And the conversation now with her husband, and how does that affect her son? And then, now that Flynn is gone, how does Donald like move on? Like, it's so fascinating. And of course, I'm like, what the conversation? What do they talk about? So anyways, I'm going to read this again.
Yeah.
I also wonder about that moment when Flynn and Mrs. Mueller meet each other in the hallway. Presumably, like, he knows she was there. He arrives at my office just slightly after she's left. What happened there, right? Like,
yeah. Too bad there wasn't a scripted conversation there, right?
Yeah.
But that's part of, I think, the cool part about, there's a layer there that
leaves you wonder.
Yes. Yeah. And there's so many points there where it's like, okay, it could go this way. How come the author's taking us this way? I'm still wondering about this, right? So reading it a couple of times, maybe the reader can go into those spaces each time they read it, and then read it again and go into another space and think about it and ponder it, and then read it again and go to another space. Like, yeah.
And I'm just wondering now too, I'm just thinking about Sister Aloysius and Sister James and wondering whether there's any like jealousy or regret or envy from Sister Aloysius to Sister James, who is not as like much more faithful, right? Like, but also more well liked and nicer, right? Like, whether there's any like, yeah. It's a good play. It's tight.
It is. Perfect. And you all brought it together so well. So thank you very much for your readings. Jen, thank you very much for having all the ins and outs of the actors.
A little reminder to turn your microphone on. It was very nice.
Yeah, that was great.
Perfect.
Glad I could help.
I'm going to stop the live stream here. Thank you again very much, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I'm just so excited to give my actors these awesome opportunities just to dig into these great scripts that maybe we'll never have the chance to put on. Maybe we'll never have the chance to play these characters. But you know, it's there, it's sitting there. Let's just do them, right? And give some people some exposure. And then this talkback went so well, just all the engagement we were getting from it. We really value that, and would love to have you back for a future reading. So be sure to tune in next week, Saturday. Thanks again for joining us, everyone. Keep safe, keep sane, keep healthy. Take care.